first question, you've held like executive roles across industry before founding VR Motion Learning, and we wanted to know what inspired the leap into VR and esports.
Well, that's a good question. There have been, a few motivation points which made me go into VR and in tennis. The background is that I've been working in the paper industry for many years, and especially the last years, we were all suffering from a, a decrease of paper consumptions due to the digital environment. And more, you could have seen that the paper needs are going down, and I was just desperate to see something else than that. So one of my motivations was to change the industry and go something which is high tech and has a lots of future and has a lot of growth. So that was one of the business reasons. But there are other reasons, such like I'm a tennis player. I love tennis, and I wanted to do something extraordinary, which was like digitalizing tennis. And having a son who's a tennis player and an e-gamer at the same time, I have seen that he was just sitting in front of his screen in his computer at home, and shooting aliens. And I wanted him to get back to the tennis court. So that was one of the drivers to develop tennis esports.
And how did your background in marketing and media help you craft a vision for tennis esports?
Well, if you have been in the industry and business for many years, you have a network, and you know some marketing tools and how to do things. However, the paper industry is totally different to the VR industry. So I had to learn a lot about the new tech, the new environment, the new market drivers, the new tools you have, which you never used in the paper industry. So there was a lot of learning, but it was very interesting because it's such a fast moving industry, and so much things are going on. So I had the feeling that everyone was learning actually at the same time.
Nice. Um, well, you just said that you are a tennis player too, and we were talking before that I really love playing tennis, but I wanted to know if there was like a personal moment on the tennis or even off the tennis court that sparked this project, like the eureka moment, as we say.
Yes, there was one moment, and that moment was I was I was training with my coach, almost day by day, and the coach was always telling me, "Yeah, Gregor, you're getting better. Your forehand is getting better." And I had just had the feeling he wanted to keep me on the court, that I come back the day after day, and he could not really qualify and quantify my skills. So he could not tell me, yes, the velocity of your stroke went up from 54 miles per hour to 58 miles per hour, and your elbow has to be 3 degrees higher than you're doing right now, and all that quality and quantity issues were something where I said there must be a technology to capture that and to track that and to improve yourself on a different level, on a different skill level. So I looked at all the tech around, and VR is giving you a 360-degree environment and measures every stroke, every angle of your body, all the biomechanics. So it was the perfect technology to dive into.
And in your opinion, what were the early signs that this could be more than just like a tech prototype?
The early signs, well, I have seen that VR is getting more and more popular, and then COVID came, and everyone was playing at home, and as COVID changed a lot in the environment, changed a lot in in doing meetings virtually instead of in person. Less traveling, less going to the office, more home office, and what happened in 2020 and 21 is that you could not even go to a tennis court and play tennis there because everything was closed down. So that was one of the motivation to do something so that you can play tennis out of your living room. And today it's just convenient. You put on your headset, you push one button, and you're on a virtual court, and you play anyone you want in the world, real tennis. And what is important to mention here is that what I always wanted to develop was not a game, a virtual sport where you have to do the authentic moves and you improve your biomechanics, you improve your tennis skills, the way you hit the ball, and the way you perform on a tennis court, so you can translate the improvements you do in VR onto the real court. So when you play tennis esports in your living room, you're doing the authentic strokes just like you would do on a real court, and you really improve your skills. And this was also this was a research project with the technical university, and we proved it in studies that this is really happening. So that was one of the main drivers, to do something really authentic and not just a stupid game. I don't know if you ever played Wii, which was a fun game, but you were just waving your hands and you made a tennis stroke with 200 kilometers per hour. Or if you take these mobile tennis games where you use your little finger and you make a serve with 200 kilometers per hour, I would not call that tennis. If you use your little finger to make a serve in tennis, that is exactly the opposite, which we're doing, where you really have to do the real thing.
Nice. So I wanted to jump and to use this answer that you just said. When does a video game stop being a game and start being a sport? Because you just said Wii and mobile tennis, those are all games. But what do you think is the main difference? Is it really the movement? Is it the accuracy of the technology? What would you put your top three to differentiate?
Well, I think you have to mirror the real world as good as possible into the virtual world. Otherwise, you cannot translate movements you're doing in the living room onto a tennis court. And that is actually the challenge, because you still have a headset on your head. You still have a racket on your hand, which has virtual balls. I'll show you the racket we are using. So with this racket, you screw on the controller of the meta, which looks like this here.
Mm-hmm.
And the feeling and the balance of this racket is exactly one-to-one to a real tennis racket. So when you put on your headset and you have the VR adapter in your hand, you have exactly the same feeling, balance, weight whatsoever like a real tennis racket. So you're really immersed into a virtual court. And that was so important, to really mirror the real physics into the virtual court. Otherwise, you would not be able to have that accuracy. So it's that part, but also the ball physics. The balls are so complex in tennis. They're coming at different speeds, at different spins, at different surfaces, different temperatures, etc., etc. And that's something you have to translate into the virtual world, which was a real challenge. Otherwise, you would not have the feeling and the environment as on the real court.
And talking about the project, how long did it take to go from an idea to a playable experience, like innovation in esports?
Yeah, well, when I started this idea, actually, I went to the Technical University of Vienna to Professor Kaufmann, who is the key guy in the industry, and I told him about this idea. And then he said, well, Gregory, this is a great idea, but it's going to take 3 or 4 years of research and development until you're going to get there. Are you sure you want to do that? And first I said, oh my goodness, 3 or 4 years of research and development, that's crazy. But then I said, well, if I do that, nobody else will be able to do that anymore, because nobody else is going to invest 3 or 4 years into developing, the virtual court as we do, as accurate. And that's exactly what happened. So we went into a research project. We spent 3 or 4 years, with students and professors and all kind of equipment and tennis physics to mirror the physical world into the virtual world. And today, that's the big barrier why there's no other VR tennis app which can come even close to us, because nobody is investing 3 or 4 years into all that research as we have done.
Yes. And you're saying that it's really like hard to make the physics of the ball and of the court. And I saw a video of tennis esports that you even can change the ground, like grass, or in Brazil say saibro. I don't know in English saibro, but
Yes.
like yes, you get it. And
Yes.
but
No,
my question,
yes.
you can talk.
Oh, no, go ahead. Sorry. I don't want to
No,
interrupt you.
it's totally fine. But you said these are like really hard technical parts, but other than the ball, do you have another like really hard technical challenge on creating tennis in VR?
Yes. And there are, lots of different mosaic stones, as I call it. Okay. So the one is the ball physics we just talked about. And there is a big difference if a ball bounces on grass, on clay, on hard court. And it's a big difference if the ball bounces on 2,000 meters high environment, or on ground zero. Okay. There's a big difference. Okay. And it's a big difference what kind of balls you have. Some balls bounce higher than the others. And if you watch Grand Slams, they change the balls, quite often, because they deteriorate over time. So the ball physics is one side, but there's another point. The technology of the headsets don't allow to track quick movements. Now in tennis, if you do the stroke, you prepare yourself, and once you strike the ball, you strike very fast and abrupt, and it's hard for the system to track that stroke. So that was another challenge we had, to overcome the high tech barriers you have, out of the hardware system, out of given constraints, physical constraints. A third point was, what is your optimal stroke? What is your optimal forehand stroke? And I've been asking 100 coaches, and I got 100 answers what the optimal coach is. And there are big discussions between the coaches, if the elbow has to be 5 degrees higher or not, and what happens with the left finger and the left hand, and whatsoever. But there are some basic tennis coaching rules which you can take into account, which is the same for everyone. Just if it comes into the professional area, then you have different kind of systems. If you take Nadal or Djokovic or Federer and look at their backhand, they're completely different. But if you take a standard backhand, it's always the same. You always have to, look at the ball, have the right timing, swing through, all those things. So that was another challenge, to really identify and define what is the optimal stroke. And then you had another component, which was the human being. Everyone has a different kind of character. So
Yeah.
there are people who are, playing tennis with force, people who are playing it with swings, people playing it with different kind of attitudes, aggressive, defensive, keeping the ball, tactical, whatsoever. And then you had like mental points. It's a big. We found out it's a big difference if you are just training a serve in a training environment 100 times doing the same serve, or you are in a fully packed stadium, 50,000 spectators watching you. It's your second serve, and it's the match point. And then you make the serve and compare that serve to the 100 serves you're doing in training. It's a big difference between the one and the other. So there were a lot of components, and I can keep on going now because it's almost endless. And that was actually a challenge to get that all together.
Yes. And you said that like people have different bodies, they have different like conditions, and I wanted to ask more about accessibility in tennis esports, because lots of people, they can't play tennis on a real court for some physical disabilities.
Yes.
And I wanted to know your vision around this, because tennis esports opens a whole new world for like different people, as you were saying, but it still is really hard for the technology to identify those different bodies. And I want to know your perspective around accessibility in tennis esports.
Yes. So we developed a system where everybody can play tennis esports. Everybody, every gender, every age, every height, every any kind of body shape. And the nicest part actually is that even the wheelchair tennis players can play tennis esports. And that was, I tell you really, that was the nicest moment in tennis esports I have ever seen. Because when the first time I played with a wheelchair, tennis player, I asked him, how was it? And he was smiling at me with a big face and said, I have never had such a nice feeling being part of the community and being not handicapped anymore. I'm as equal as everyone else. I don't have a wheelchair anymore. I'm playing with all other players without any handicap. And that was such a nice feeling he had. I was so proud of having, developed a system where we can integrate, everybody into the game. So everyone is welcome. Everyone plays. Yes, we have wheelchair tennis players. The best one is even number 17 in our tennis esports tour. He's a Canadian wheelchair player. Very nice guy. Met him a few times. Playing very well, and he's part of the community as everyone else.
Yeah, and before you go to the next question, Luca, I just want to say that, well, I'm a big fan of esports, not just like the traditional sport in a digital way, but esports in general, the games, and I'm a big Valorant fan. And as you said, it's so beautiful to see a digital virtual world where we can really apply the like to see equal people playing in an equal ground, and it's really beautiful. So I'm really happy to hear that all these players, the Canadian player that uses a wheelchair, and this moment is so like it's so wholesome. And thank you for sharing this with us. It was awesome. But Luca, you can go to the next question.
No, I like to take like the subject of accessibility, just to ask, how do you balance realism and accessibility, like especially for these kind of players, or even a guy who never played tennis in his life and wanted to try it?
Yes. Well, for that we have training programs. So if you go into the app, it starts with a tutorial and it shows you how to even hold a racket, because there are different ways to hold a racket. It gives you a timing. So we let you, it's called tech zone. So we let you make a forehand, and it will say, Luca, you made 45% of your optimal stroke. And you will ask yourself, why only 45%? And the system will tell you, because you're not going in your knees. So then you go in your knees, and the system will tell you 48%, and say, why it's only 48%? So the system will tell you, you have to follow through your arm over the shoulder. and you do that, and then you do the right timing, and then you do this and this and this. So the system brings you step by step into your optimal stroke, and that's the way you learn tennis. And it follows you, over with statistics about everything. And you have training programs, backhand and forehand, and you can, there's even a playground where you can design your own training courses. So you get fit for playing the AI. So then you play in AI, and the AI has different kind of skills. So you can play, defensive AIs. You can play, nice girls. You can play, really aggressive tennis players. Everything is there. And once you have done that, you go into multiplay, and then you start playing other players on the platform. And the top is that you play then in a tennis esports tour, which is just like the ATP tour, where you make points in the same system as you make on the ATP tour. So there are weekly tournaments. And the biggest fun was actually last September, where we had the first World Championships in Las Vegas. So we had the top 16 players from the world flying into Vegas and competing for the first World Championship. And a very nice guy, Vimal from India, he won and became the first world champion. And it was a great experience to see, all the players, which you usually see just in avatars, seeing, physically there and playing there. So that was big fun. So all that happens in the app, okay? And that's one of the reasons why, we started in June 23. We launched it in June 23, and we had 365 players. Now, a year later, we had 17,000. Today, we have over 500,000 players. So it's really growing. And that's just because it's so convenient and so much fun.
Wow. And well, it just said 500,000 players. That is absolutely amazing. And about this data that you just shared, what surprised you about the audience demographics of tennis esports?
Yes. So let's go to geography. So around about 1/3 of our players are coming from the US. That's our biggest market. Then you have Canada, and then you have Europe, Western Europe, UK number 1, Germany number 2. That's where most of the players come. But the Asian market is growing very fast right now. A lot of players from Japan and South Korea. We're going to start in China, most probably in next year. And there are also Latin America, South America is there, but it's not that strong. And the reason why the other markets like South America and Africa are not that strong is because the penetration of VR headsets is not there. So that's one of our obstacles, actually. You need to have a MetaQuest headset to play tennis esports. It will not work with your mobile only or with your PC only. You have to have a headset on to dive into the immersive world, and that's the obstacle actually to growth.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And I would like to know, like, how do you work with traditional sports institutions? Like, do they embrace VR or they resist it?
Partly they resist it, partly they embrace it. So, for example, in Austria, we're working together with the Austrian Tennis Federation, and in June next year, there will be the Staatsmeisterschaften, which is the official Austrian championships of the real tennis players. And at the same location, at the same time, we will have the Austrian VR tennis championships. Okay, where the Austrian champion is going to then get a ticket to the World Championship, as we had last year. And we're working with other federations too. The big advantage of tennis federations working together with us is that they can get new target groups, which they would have never seen before. So, for example, one study we made is that we asked the VR tennis player who never touched a tennis racket before, asked them, would you go on a real tennis court? And 50% said, yes, sure, why not? Okay. Then we asked, well, would you really do it? You have a racket, you have shoes, and you have all that stuff. At the end, 15% of VR tennis players who never touched the racket started to play real tennis on a tennis court. And they would have never done that without VR tennis. So out of the 16, all the 8 gamers lost, and the 8 tennis players, they kept on going. So there's a huge advantage in tennis esports if you know how to play tennis in real world. And at the end, a professional tennis player became world champion. But you have to know and have tennis skills to play tennis esports. It's not something like a game where you just wave your controller around and you can make some hidden points or whatsoever and cheat. That doesn't work. You have to play real tennis. Okay.
Nice.
That was
nice. Nice. This is really cool to know about. And just going on this, I was talking about like new audience and bringing these kids to play, because it's really cool to see that gamers and athletes are playing together on a virtual world and on a like a LAN championship. So it's really cool. But now my question is, um, thinking about the marketing strategy, because I know you graduated in marketing. Do you think bringing like partnerships with other games, like people could change their avatars to characters that they know of? Because for example in Fortnite, um, it became like a world famous game because of these collaborations with other brands. And I wanted to know if in a near or far future would you consider doing this type of partnership?
Oh, absolutely. We're open for all kind of partnerships. For example, just in the UK, we had actually partnership with Hado. I don't know if you know Hado. That's an AR game where we had an event together in Scotland. Yes, we are open to all kind of partnerships. Not too much on the mobile sector because you have the different hardware issue there. Mobile is played on your mobile, and they don't have headsets. So we are looking more into partnerships who are in this high tech area, who have headsets, who are in the AR space. That is more something which fits to us.
Nice. But for example, if you could choose like I don't know, maybe I'm gonna say like a random character, like play as Batman in tennis esports. Do you see that in the future, or this is something that for you it doesn't really work with the vision you have for tennis esports?
Do you mean that you play as an avatar as Batman, or Batman is playing tennis? What's the
It's like
background?
you choose different avatars, like you can choose
Okay, yes.
Batman to play, or like
Yes.
Spider-Man, but it's still
Yes.
in VR in the virtual world,
Yes, that is something which we're thinking about. Yes, right now it's very authentic that you play yourself and you always play your own name. But we are looking into the fantasy model that you play as Djokovic, you play as Federer,
Nice.
and that is something which is certainly coming. What you need to have to do that though is you need to have the personal rights of these tennis players.
Yes.
So if you
Yes.
want to play as Nadal has to agree to it, and you usually have to pay something for Nadal so that he allows that, and then you have to do that one by one. So it's different with FIFA, where you have one organization covering all media rights of all players. In tennis, it's very, very different, where you have different kind of organizations like the ATP, the WTA, the ITF. You have different tennis organizations, and nobody is holding the personal rights of the tennis players. So they have to bundle that. Djokovic is trying that with the PTPA to bundle the tennis rights, so that publishers like us have a chance to get them into the app. but he's still, covering only a fraction of the tennis players. But it's coming. It's something which has a future for sure.
Nice.
Gregory, at the time I asked this question, the live stream wasn't working, so I'll ask again.
Yes.
You can talk about a lot about your career, and but we'd like to know what's your most rewarding or proudest moment so far in this journey.
Well, maybe the moment where I played with Stefan, the Canadian wheelchair tennis player, because you find out that you have developed something which is going beyond anything you would ever dreamed of, and you're giving somebody a feeling which he would have never had in real life, and that is something which is beyond any kind of business or whatever. It's just an emotion which you bring into the picture. So that was an emotional moment. If you take the business side, I'm proud that we have, within 3 years, we have now more than 500,000 players. That's a great business target we hit. On the otherwise, I'm proud that we managed the technology, to be able to provide something, because in the beginning, many people were saying, Gregory, what you're planning here is not possible. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. You're not be able. For example, just 2 years ago, people were telling me, you will never play Austria against Australia because it's exactly on the other side of the world. The lags are too high. You will never play a ball, from one side to the other. If one is sitting in Melbourne and the other one is sitting in Paris. Yes, we're doing it now. People from Australia are playing against Europeans, and we're playing against people in Brazil at the same time without any lag, and it works perfectly. And that's something where you have to invest a lot into tech to make that happen. It's not that easy to do that. So things like that. So many tiny steps, from the tech side, from the marketing side, from the business side. Also even just getting the admiration from Andre Agassi, for example, is a nice feeling. That you have somebody, a multiple Grand Slam winner, telling you, hey, this is great. That gives you a nice feeling. So you had there's a lot of moments which makes you proud.
Nice. And for our final questions, we have a couple more. Should a virtual sport be eligible for the Olympics if it requires like real physical movement and skill?
Yes, for this you should know that the IOC has decided to make the Olympic esports. So that is decided, and they want to start with that in 27, 28. The idea of the Olympics was or is to convert traditional sports into esports, so that you play all the Olympic sports also virtually. The esport industry, though, say, well, we want to have Fortnite and all these shooting games and whatnot as esport titles. So that's where they're having a clinch right now, and they have a lot of political discussions how to solve that. But for sure, it's just a question of time until all the traditional sports will become virtual. Most of them are virtual already. They just have to be combined into one big event. And at the end, I will see there will be Olympic esports, covering traditional sports. That's for sure. It's just a question of time.
And do you think could VR make sports more inclusive, or does it create new barriers? Ele caiu.
Bom, rapaziada que tá assistindo a gente, o Gregory já ele tá de volta, mas eu acho que a gente pode ir batendo um papo em inglês, né, pra quem tá assistindo em inglês enquanto ele tá retornando. Mas aí só para dar uma avisada. Ai, pomba. Não dá, né? Para 2 brasileiros falar inglês, gente. Não dá, a gente não consegue. Ai. Ô, Lucas, você joga um VRzinho, mano? Jogaria um tênis VR?
Jogaria, mas se depender da minha habilidade no tênis normal, vai ser difícil.
Vixe.
Pô,
Vai ser duro.
Ai.
eu acho que o
Batman versus Superman no tênis. Imagina, mano. Eu já tô vendo esse mundo meio Fortnite no tênis, velho.
Aí, de fato, acho que ia gerar uma discussão legal.
Ia ser bom,
Eu
mano.
assinaria pra ver. Fácil.
Imagina, mano. Hoje, 7 da noite. Batman versus Homem-Aranha. Quem vence no tênis, mano? Cê é louco.
Aí
Cê é louco.
Aí seria bom.
E pra descobrir quem tá jogando de Batman, quem tá jogando de Homem-Aranha. Do nada você descobre que, mano, Super-Homem, Djokovic, tá ligado? Uou!
Esqueça tudo.
Esqueça tudo.
Acabou.
Caraca. Ia ser maneiro,
Não.
velho.
O Gregory volta. A gente continua. Tá no finalzinho, faltam 2 perguntas só, mas... Esperar. A nossa produção tá confirmando aqui que ele tá voltando.
Ai.
Alô, produção. Deu um alô.
Consegue me ouvir?
Tamo te ouvindo.
Consigo?
Então, tô falando com ele.
Acho que o melhor seria o Homem-Aranha colocar uma teia gigante. Cê é louco. Vale poder, então, no tênis? Vixe, aí o bagulho fica louco.
Aí já vai vender o projeto pra DC da vida, porque aí vai virar bagunça.
Vai virar... Imagina, o Super-Homem. O cara ia estourar a bola, mano.
Welcome back.
Welcome, Gregory. Hello. Oh, it's
No
okay.
problem. It happens.
We are all victims of the internet today.
Yes.
No problem.
Okay,
well,
so where were we?
I was making the question. So,
Okay.
well, we'll continue from that. So, do you think like could VR make sports more inclusive, or does it create new barriers?
Well, it make it more inclusive because you don't have to travel anymore. Everyone around the world can play, wherever they're sitting. So it's environmental friendly. It's easier to access. People in the rural areas, people, in foreign countries, anywhere, it makes it much, much easier to join a tennis tournament if you don't have to travel anymore. So it's making it very inclusive. And think about the wheelchair players that they can participate. That again is a big point to make it more inclusive. So I think that's a clear question, clear answer to this question.
And for our last question, Gregory, is what advice would you give for someone that's like just starting to create their own business, or maybe this person is like they want to like create something as big as you created tennis esports? What would be your advice for this person?
Well, I think the biggest advice is that besides having a really good idea, which you check if it's really good or not, to have the real team and the finances behind it, because that's what you actually need. You need this combination of good people and enough money to survive the first years or first time until you hit break even. So
nice.
I think that's the most important.
Do you wanna like talk to our audience about your products, where to find them, about VR learning? The stage is yours, Gregory.
Okay, well, anyone who's interested, just please go into www.tennis-esports.com. Otherwise, you find us at the MetaQuest Horizon store. So if you go to MetaQuest, you just put in tennis or tennis esports, and you will find us, and you can download us. So just try it out, and everyone who wants to ask me any question, I'm open to answer all your questions you have, and give you some hints how to play better in VR tennis and real tennis.
Nice, nice. We have a coach, guys. We have a coach. Nice. Do you want to say something? Do you want to say like last words, Luca? Last words.
No, I just wanna thank Gregory for your presence. It was amazing. It was like amazing. I'm not that familiar with the subject, but I'm very into it now. So I just want to thank you. It was an amazing interview. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys, and thank you for your time and for everything, and good luck. All the best.
For you too. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Gregory.
very much.
Well, for you that is watching us right now, this was Dr. Gregory Gettinger. As he said, he's available for answering your.
It's gone.
Okay, so internet let us down again.
Next one.